With your host, Knotty Karate.
Scruffy-looking nerf herder.
And a rotating roundtable of awesomeness.
Go switch off.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes InDepth.com podcast.
I got a bad feeling about this.
Welcome, everybody, to the monthly SwGoH In-Depth podcast. This is our end of September edition, and we have an enormous amount of information to cover. We've probably seen the highest number of updates and new characters in the game. Between the last month or two, I would say, we have several new farming locations for multiple characters. For example, let's start with Zalbar, T4, and Val. These are the KOTOR tunes that are coming up. And then there was also in the recent update that we got earlier in the week, there was updates to some visuals. Avi, I know you have an opinion on this because once I scrolled through and saw Bastila in my roster, I was like, oh my God, what happened? Did you get a Botox injection or something?
Something along those lines. They did redo the zombie, which I think was a pretty cool avatar that they did. However, I think that the Bastila leaves a lot to be desired. Now, granted, what she was before was not the best, and I think they were trying to update her to make her look a little bit more like the actual actress. But in actuality, the way that they did it, the artwork, I'm sorry, is a bit lacking. And that, in a sense, she kind of looks like Michael Jackson after the rework.
Really?
And also, yeah. And well, if you look at the shape of the face and everything, if you compare the two, you'll notice a similarity there. The other thing that I think that they were trying to enhance her hairstyle, but what they accomplished with whatever it was that they were trying to do, it has a comb over, and it just doesn't work. And you've got that thing dangling on the side, looks like a little wave of hair, but that just doesn't work either. And for me, being an artist, I look at those kind of things and I know.
Do you think she has a headband? Are we missing? Is she wearing a headband or something?
No,
it really looks like
headband.
It really looks
that's
like
a bad
a headband, but it is a comb over.
It looks
It's
like a comb over temple hair from one side, like pointed.
Right,
like she's
right.
trying-
There's no possible way that would have stuck to her forehead like that through the entire movie or whatever it is. On the avatar, it'll stick there probably with glue. However, it was a bad rework on that. I think that they just kind of missed the mark.
Yeah. Well, she got hooked up with the Trump family's hairstylist and it just went south.
I wasn't going to say anything about that. But the zombie looks awesome. The zombie
I think the zombie
looks really cool and scary.
She looks great. Also, interestingly enough, let's talk about the zombie. So she is now something that at Gear 10 offers similar to Daka. So Avi, between the two, you think zombie got the best upgrade?
Absolutely.
I agree.
It looks pretty awesome. Maybe a third time's a charm for Bastila.
Maybe the third time's a charm. Yeah.
Do you think they're going to rework her visuals a third time?
No, probably
who
not.
knows? But it's kind of an adage. It's kind of the old adage is that third time's a charm. So maybe. Well,
you know what? If they rework Bastila or just her avatar, I'm holding out to see a change to Australopithecine Jin because I love that character and she doesn't look good. So she might get a Botox injection like Bastila did and a cheekbone implant.
Who knows?
We'll see. Anyway, so enough of that. We have some really interesting news. So tell us about this Patron Giveaway because you've been partnered with Blue for a while now. And I've received a microphone and I just heard that someone else got one. What went on with that?
Right. So I'm partnered with Blue Designs and every so often I get to give away some of their awesome products. And one of my patrons, Booze Prompt, who I want to share a quick story. I think everyone will find it interesting. Booze Prompt went and flew all the way from, I believe he's in Cali to Germany for Oktoberfest. By the way, if you've never done Oktoberfest, you should probably go and do that. And He came back, flew back to the States. He had major jet lag and was one of the only few people to actually understand the giveaway, and he ended up winning almost by default. And then he was super generous to give his prize to our very own Avi. So Avi will very shortly, probably by the next time we do the next podcast, will have her very own Blue Yeti microphone. So all of us are going to have amazing microphones to sound oh so sexy on the next podcast. So super excited for Avi to get her Blue Yeti microphone.
I'm
Yay,
excited
thanks, Blue.
myself. It's
Send
really
us more
nice,
free
yeah.
stuff. Let Nukin give away more free stuff. We love it. Thank you.
And if you guys want to know more about when I do giveaways, join the Discord. The link will be in the video description. I do them all the time. All right, so enough about that. Let's talk about SwGoH.
Okay, yeah, we have a lot to talk about. This is very important. Thanks for getting us back on track, Nukin.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the real topic of the hour, and this is what most players in the game, and we're recording this on Friday night, the 28th right now. So there's still, 5 days left for Chewie, or 6 to unlock him?
Got about 5 days.
Wow. 5 days.
So there's been a lot of chatter about, and a lot of people that have unlocked him, and a lot of people that are struggling, myself included. We'll get to that later. So the first thing that I wanted to ask from those of us that have completed it, which I think we all have here, Avi, you've done it on 2 accounts. And
Yes, I have.
I want to know, do you think, is this too difficult? Because that did creep into my mind over the last 24 hours. I found it very frustrating. What do you think?
Honestly, I think it's a matter of strategy. I did unlock them on 3 accounts. 2 of them I was able to get to 7 stars. The third one I haven't gotten all the way yet, so I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to do it. I don't think it's too difficult. I do think that people are impatient in trying to unlock a 7-star character in a very short period of time, when in actuality, they're trying to, make it more challenging for people to do so. Once I kind of figured things out, it just took a lot of practice. The first night that I did it, I was really frustrated, and I was also really, really tired. But the next day, I managed to figure out what I needed to do, and all it took was just one battle. And then I went on my second account, figured it out.
Quick rundown of the strategy that you used and the tunes you had geared and their gear levels?
Originally, one of the teams that I had just wasn't modded that well. And I really needed speed on them. And so what I did was I took, and one of the good things that because I watched Nukin's video on that, and it's like, oh, okay, that's kind of gives me an idea of what I needed to do, is I took my arena mods, and then I did a loadout on both the bounty hunters and my arena tunes. And then I just kind of figured out who's going to need what mods from my arena team. And once I figured that out, then I was able to go in and boom, it was done. It was so simple. It was so incredibly simple to do.
Okay, so mod swapping was important for you on at least one account for the unlock.
It really was, because it granted a huge amount of more speed, more offense, more potency, more crit damage, whatever I needed to do to be able to get that done.
So in your opinion, do you think this event is too difficult?
No, I don't think so.
You think it's appropriate? I think it might be too, like to the power creep in the game and what Chewie offers. He's supposed to be a great character, and a lot of people can get him at 5 stars.
Right.
Maybe he's good then, or usable. I don't know, but 7 should be an accomplishment, and we've known about bounty hunters for months now, that they're going to be important for stuff.
Exactly.
Including multiple ships. So I don't know.
All leading up to this is what it was. It was all leading up to this. I don't think it's too difficult, but I think a lot of people are impatient in wanting to get 7 stars right off the bat, when in actuality, 5 stars is going to probably be a great start for a lot of people. It will come back. The event will come back.
That's a very good point, too. There's also an entire week to complete it. So not being able to get it immediately was probably one of the frustrations that I fell into. Actually, I suppose this is a good point to dovetail into this story. I don't know if Nukin wants to tell me this or not, but anyway, I was frustrated yesterday morning, and I went to bed early because I had done the battle maybe 20 times. I was sitting on a stockpile of gear. I ended up giving a bunch of it to Dengar, and I still couldn't beat the battle. And I just decided I was going to go to bed. And the next morning I said, anyone want to do this for me? And Nukin's like, hold on. And then 10 minutes later, he posts a picture of unlocking Chewie. And I was like, oh my God, really?
There's your frenzy.
So it was doable. But yeah, I hired Nukin for my dirty work. Do you want to mention anything about that and what you did that was different or anything?
So I actually ended up recording my entire process, and I may actually turn it into a video. It might be helpful because a lot of the stuff in my video, there was so much to cover that I couldn't really showcase my thought process and actions that I was taking in the game. So I might actually put it on YouTube for everyone else to see of what I did when I logged into your account.
Oh, so, dude. Well, speaking for myself, I can say it would help me a great deal because I technically didn't earn the experience, so I don't know how to beat it. Other than
I'll give everyone
over and over.
I'll give everyone a sneak peek of what I did. I logged into the account. I went in and kind of briefly checked out the mods. I checked out the gear. I walked into tier 7, did a few attempts, and then I realized that the mods weren't good enough. And then I went and checked the gear levels once more because with mods, you have to have 6-dot mods on 7-star, I believe, 7-star characters or gear 12 characters or something like that.
12.
And I put the 6-dot mods on the characters that could actually use them and put the 5-dot mods on the gear, 9 to 11 characters.
Oh, so you did mod swap while you were in there. Oh.
And then I realized that your mod loadouts for your arena team were not updated. So that took a little bit, but I fixed it up for you. And then I went in.
Thanks, man.
I went in and then with the new mods on your team, and actually did have to do it like 2 or 3 times, but on the third time I crushed it and I got Chewie for you, and that's kind of what went down. And then I put all the mods back on your arena team, and no one ended up hitting you, so you kept your arena rank. It's like no one ever knew that they were modless.
Oh, dude, that's so funny. You've been so busy with videos that you didn't even tell me that. I'm just learning this now. Mm-hmm. So let's take a moment to do a little thumbs up, like a radio show. Hey, are you struggling at this game? Do you want a good friend like Nukin, who really knows what he's talking about and can take care of your game? Become a Patreon today. It's totally worth it. See? He just told me stuff I didn't even know. And this is like I kind of knew, but I didn't know how he did it. And now there's footage of it and you're going to make a video? Amazing. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm glad to be your friend, buddy.
And you had enough gear that when I logged into your account, he was already 6 stars, gear 11 with Zetas.
Yes.
Let's talk a little bit about, what you wanted to mention as well about setting.
Okay. So again, I'm going to give a shout out to you here because I try to think of myself, unless I'm talking too much, as a good listener. And one thing that you've taught me over the last couple years of playing this game is that as a resource management game, having the resources necessary to make choices, much like the difference between having savings or debt, one works against you, one works for you. And the first example that really worked out for me was saving up and preparing for Treya. And by that point, I just kind of got used to having and not spending until I had more than 2 to 3 stun guns crafted, 3 to 4 Carbantes crafted, 4 to 6 golden eyeballs crafted, which are really, really in high demand once you're building your TW teams. But I just kind of have a surplus of those. Also, maybe like a droid color or 2, the Mark V ones. Those tend to be bottlenecks. And as long as I have those, as soon as a new character like Chewie comes out, I can just drop everything on him And you can kind of tell from his kit, he's not going to be a meta breaker. I'm enjoying using him, actually using him in Arena, but it's just nice to have the choice for that. And I think it's more of a free-to-play focus and just kind of a wise choice, because once you're to a level of development with your account, you don't need to spend every green, every green cross you can click on. You don't need to click on them.
You don't need to push the green.
Mm-hmm. So anyway, I try to maintain a threshold of 3 of those like bottleneck pieces of gear, and it really worked out for me this time. Worked out for Treya, worked out for Chewie. Now I have him gear 12, day 1, 2 Zetas. I usually bank 2 of those at any given time, and the DACA one, which I think we're going to talk about later, right?
Mm-hmm.
The DACA refund Zeta. So anyway, yeah. Thank you for, I just wanted to talk about it because I think it's important for either free-to-play and pay-to-play players, whatever you are in between, is that preparing for something that's upcoming and just hoarding gear and hoarding resources, Zetas, Omegas, things like that is really, really important. And you can kind of ride that wave when the meta comes out, if it's a new meta, or if not, or it's a self-indulgence character sometimes. I really like Chewie, though. I think he's more than that.
Yeah, and Chewie reminds me of BB-8 when he came out a year ago. When we got BB-8, we just looked at this soccer ball droid and we're like, this guy doesn't do anything. And then he grew over time in value. JTR came out a few months later, I believe. And suddenly we're like, oh, that's where he belongs. And then people figured out that he's also good in the tank raid, etc. So I think Chewbacca is going to grow in value. I think that we're on the brink of potentially getting something new, some new sort of content, whether it be a new game mode or a new territory battle or something. And I think Chewbacca is going to play maybe even a role in the Sith raid. Maybe there's a new character that hasn't even been released that's going to work very well with Chewbacca in the Sith raid as well. So I think he's going to grow over time in value. People don't know how to use him to his full potential right now. And that full potential, I believe, is going to be, that ceiling is going to raise over time. So I definitely think that Chewbacca resembles in some ways the launch of BB-8. And it's going to be interesting to see how things kind of shake out over time.
Yeah, I would think that like the value cost of getting him from 6 stars to 7 stars too, and what it requires in terms of the team that you need for that specific difference of change, I think that having him at 7 stars is going to be very key for some upcoming game content that we won't believe how well he'll work in. Because getting him at 6 stars is way, way easier. Like you can do that with Gear 8 bounty hunters. To do it at 7 stars, they almost all need to be Gear 12. Actually, you know what? I would like to bring up Operation Metaverse and give a shout out to them. T-Money G, she made a video on the people in her guild that were able to successfully complete this mission. And she had like 15 different examples of all different bounty hunter cops. And because it's a very versatile team, I think it's a great reference point for anyone that's struggling to unlock Chewie. But I definitely agree he's probably going to be more valuable in the future in ways we can't see yet, much like when BB-8 came out.
I thought he was kind of valuable in territory battles when I put him in. On one of my accounts, I only had him at G9. So I thought, you know what, I'll just kind of throw him in there at 7 stars. And I kind of wondered why he was a bit slow. I threw him in with Scoundrels. And he was a little bit slow, and I didn't know why until afterwards that I totally forgot to mod him at all on that. And yet he rocked it.
Oh, yeah. He's on every one of my TV teams now. Under Rebels, usually. He's a great addition. So anyway, Chewie, we have a lot to learn about him. I'm sure within the next month, we're definitely going to have a lot more specific recommendations, advice, and experience on where he fits in throughout different game modes. But we've also got a lot of updates pre-Chewie, and the last big one was Django, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Okay, so Avi, are you the one that geared him the most? Because I got him to like gear 8-ish, and he doesn't have a Zeta.
Yeah, he's only 4 stars, but he's gear 11.
There was a lot of speculation when he came out that he might be part of a Treya killer team in TW. Do you think that's still possible for him, or does he need to be completely maxed out for that to be a key?
I think it's possible, but he's going to have his Omegas and Zeta to be able to do it, I think, if he's going to be at a lower star. But if he's going to be upper stars, I think he can really contribute to being on a Treya killing team, yes.
And there was a couple people on my shard who got a 7-star Django on day 1 when he was available, and they used him for a few days, but he doesn't seem that sustainable on defense. But they said he definitely can take out a Treya lead. I don't know if he needs to be maxed for that. You don't have any experience with that yet?
I don't think. I used him last TW, and I did really, really well with him on that. But that was on offense. I would not put him on defense because I don't think he'll hold up.
Yeah, I see. I really want to use him and want to have him more geared up. But, like we were talking about gear preparation earlier, I saved up for Dengar and Chewie. So we'll see how Django works out.
We can call him Preparation J.
Preparation J. I was also, one more thing about Django. I was hoping that he would have some sort of synergy with clones and be a leader to clones. It would make so much sense, right? But I don't know. That fell through, and I just decided I'm saving my gear for Chewie, buddy.
It's extremely sad because I love the clones. Clones are one of my favorites. They were like my first real team that I had. I loved my clone boys, and I really thought that Django would have a little bit more to go with them and to work out with them, but it's just not to be. The clones just need a major overhaul to be able to be viable for anything else in the game.
They're really not good anywhere other than nostalgia in phase 2 or 4 of the hat raid.
Yeah. They're just way behind. They're way behind.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, CG, if you're listening, make clones good again. Okay, so we have a lot of updates about other bounty hunters too, because this whole faction is being very rounded out, updated repeatedly over the last couple of weeks. So, Nukin, what's the next one? Zam?
Right. So Zam got reworked, and we finally have all of the old school bounty hunters with their reworks. So they came out with a bunch of the contract system and a bunch of reworks, but they forgot, or they didn't forget, but they left out Cad Bane and Zam. And so now we have a rework for Zam Wessel. So Zam Wessel, now it has a Zeta and a capability of thermal detonators, which was kind of her thing, is now even better than ever. And I have been having a lot of fun when I'm playing her as a leader, because her leadership allows any bounty hunter to do thermal detonators under her leadership. So that was really nice. And I used her for Galactic Bounties too. So I created a video on the stun locking strategy, where you're using a bunch of heroes to stun lock. And then someone in the video asked me to try out Zam Wessel. And I also kind of put an unlisted video in the description showcasing how even a Zam Wessel leadership can work out as well. And that was pretty fun to play. I'll add, to beat the deadly tier where you're facing off against Emphas Nest.
Oh, really? The last one you can do it with Zam lead? Oh, interesting. With
some undergeared bounty hunters. We're talking like gear.
Wow, 9. I did not know that.
Right. Yeah. So the trick there is there's just so many thermal detonators, and Emphas Nest has so much HP that really just all it takes is about 10 detonators to proc, and she basically just dies when she takes a turn.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh man, so I gotta try that next time.
I'm really interested to see that, and I know this podcast is posted on my channel, but you might have missed that unlisted video. It's in the video description of the Galactic Bounties 2 video. So that was really cool.
We can link it when you post.
And we can also link it in the podcast. So other than that, I think that she's not really an amazing, Sith raid character, and people don't really use the bounty hunters in the other raids like the Rancor and the tank raid that much. But what I think Knotty, you said you were talking about you actually use Zam in Territory Wars.
Yeah, I think she's one of the more fun bounty hunters to use. And yes, I kind of almost liken her to Fulcrum Ahsoka, where she needs a setup, right? She needs a lot of team synergy, and she needs just the right situation so that she can just go on like a murder turn and just be like, blah, 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 more thermal detonators, blah, 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 blah. So it's really fun when it happens. It's not necessarily the strategy of bounty hunters that works, I think, but it's one of my most fun new game things, because I always wanted her to be cool, and now the bounty hunters have had so many bolsters lately and new characters. She's fun to use.
So we're talking Dengar, Greedo, characters that can do thermal detonators on AoE.
Dengar, Greedo, Bosk, and then just pick any other one that's geared up. It can be Cad Bane or Boba Fett or anyone, literally anyone. Embo, undergeared Embo, he'll work too. It just depends on what you're going against. I just think that bounty hunters are something we're definitely going to see in Territory Wars, not only because they get a bonus, they basically get a free combat analysis where they cleanse themselves on crits. So they are absolute meta up there with Trey.
One other major thing to mention that we forgot to mention, thermal detonators cannot be cleansed now, which is
huge. That's huge.
That's right.
Yeah. That completely transformed the team.
So much better now, and I can't believe I forgot to mention that. Thermal detonators were bad because you would do all this work and setup. Even in territory battles, there's multiple rebels that can cleanse.
those pilots,
and you would like, oh yeah, got my thermal detonators ready to go. Zam's about to take a turn and go boom, boom, boom. Cleanse? No! And so now they can't be cleansed. So it's so much easier to actually do some combos with your bounty hunters. So with the thermal detonators, I should say.
And they're they're now the most fun team to use in Darkside TV, I think.
Right.
Like, where was the most punishing, terrible thing, like using your undergeared Phoenix in the last phase, taking your bounty hunters in? 3 Wampas? Are you kidding me? And now they just destroy them. Like, it's just so fun to watch.
Yep.
So, okay, what's our other bounty hunter? So we got Cad Bane, too.
So
this guy got a
we talked about the rework, but what about the new bounty hunter ships?
Xanadu.
Oh, yes. So we recently got Cad Bane's ship, which I personally use and have a fondness for, even though I haven't maxed the stars out. And within the last day, we got IG 2000 ship. So does anyone else here have experience with using the Xanadu Blood ship that Cad Bane is running, or have him geared up?
I haven't had an opportunity to yet.
No? Okay. Well, there's one thing that I've found it very useful for in my matchups, which tend to be a lot of Geos with Bosk's ship, and then Sunfac as a reinforcement. And as soon as I can get rid of Bosk's ship, I can bring in Cad Bane's ship as a reinforcement and apply Breach to a ship that's not going to die soon. And it basically keeps my Bosk alive the whole time and taunting. And then I can just go free flow on everyone. I only have him at 4 stars, so he doesn't have his reinforcement ability maxed. And he's too squishy to run on the first run. He just gets targeted and dies. But I really like his ship, and I think it was good to gear him up because this event was hard for Chewie. So I don't know too much about IG 2000 ship, though. Nukin, do you want to take this one?
Sure, yeah. I will argue that you probably could run your 4-star, even a 3-star Xanadu Blood in the front line, at least on offense. But maybe it would be more wise to on defense to maybe move it into the reinforcement position.
Well, I actually tried that. The problem is against Geos is he takes the turn first, and then he loses his stealth, and he is the lowest health, so he gets targeted and just dies. So that's why I don't run him on the front line.
I think the key is to make sure he's just hiding behind Houndstooth.
Yes, but my Houndstooth is 5 stars, so it's a never-ending story. I figured out a thing that works. I get if I could wail out on both of them, he would be on the front line for sure. I just don't think he's capable of it at lower stars. So
we got Xanadu Blood, works great with Houndstooth, extra breach synergy, and then we recently got IG-2000. So IG-88, the droid bounty hunter, now is a pilot, and we have this new ship where it has breach synergy as well. And something interesting that came out of this was the Game Changer videos showcase the gameplay, initial gameplay of the ship, and it seemed kind of lackluster, and it was. I did a collab with Cubs fan Han with the ship, and what I told him right before we impromptu recorded was I wasn't impressed. And they actually ended up recently, before the marquee event was released, which was as of, technically today when we were recording. Right. It's now been buffed since the gameplay from the Game Changer videos, and it actually now hits a lot harder. So it was improved. I thought it was nerfed.
Nice.
Nope, it was not nerfed. It was actually improved. So this ship actually hits a lot harder now, and potentially you may start seeing some full bounty hunter faction fleets. Before, it was sort of a hybrid of bounty hunters and geos. You might start to see less geos or no geos at all, and more bounty hunters, and potentially a hybrid of a different faction in ship fleet arena.
So very interesting.
That's gonna be a thing. And like you said, potentially we'll see how that shakes up. Maybe one of the bounty hunter ships are run in the front. Not all of them are run in the front line. We might see one of them as a reinforcement. I think people are still trying to sort of play it out and see what ends up working the best, what holds better on defense, because everything kind of can work on offense for sure. But it's going to be interesting to see which sort of bounty hunter combination team actually holds better on defense. So really excited that IG-2000 actually is a ship as well, because if you've been playing the game for a while, you may recall back in the old days with the tank raid, droids were a team for phase 2 of the tank raid. And so a lot of people actually have like a Gear 11 IG-88 as well. And so, just a few gear pieces away from probably Gear 12, and suddenly you might have a usable pilot, even if the ship is 3 or 4 stars with this IG-2000. So I think that's
a good point to bring up, Nukin. I wanted to highlight is please give us more ships for characters that we already have and have already worked on. Like Commander Luke, hey, that would be a great one. Anakin Skywalker, wow, that would be awesome. I really like when they add ships to the game that don't also have a pilot that we suddenly have to dump resources into just to be able to use the ship.
It is a pleasant surprise.
Yeah, I think this is a move in the right direction.
It happened with Sith Assassin too. A lot of people had
good point. Yep.
Had a geared up Sith Assassin to around Gear 10, 11, or 12, and Sith Fighter came out and they're like, oh, here's a pilot that I already have geared up. So that's nice.
Yep. So this is the new Bounty Hunters summary. Are we complete with that? I think. Okay, so let's go on, because we've had so many things going on in the game right now and so many things to focus on. I don't want to go over time here, but let's talk about mods, because we have the mod slicing came out this month, mod loadouts, new layer or new levels of mods. We can go to 6 dots now. What have you been doing with them? What's your plan with them? Avi, can you take this one? What have you been doing with this?
Sure. I've been having a lot of fun with the mod slicing myself. what I've done is I've got quite a few of them now at 6 stars, or excuse me, 6 dots, I should say.
How many would you say you have at 6?
Oh, probably about 20 or so.
20? Really?
Yeah.
Oh my God. You mean on one account or more than one account?
Just on one account.
Oh my goodness. Wow. You've not been slouching at all.
Wait, how many?
Probably about 20.
Whoa.
Yeah. That's on my big account, and I probably have about 10 on my slightly lower account from that.
Did you buy those mod packs?
No,
Really? I think I have like 9.
What I do is just
resources.
basically buy the salvage and just refresh. And I concentrated on buying the salvage on the ones that I wanted to do, which was basically my arena team. I don't have every one of them on my arena team done, but I'm pretty close to it at this point. I have not moved in arena ranking for quite a while because of it. But I enjoy the slicing. It's kind of interesting and I've done it from the very lowest, the white mods, all the way up.
Mm-hmm. So I just went and checked, and I have a total of 8 6-dot mods currently, and I shamelessly bought the mod salvage pack, so I would probably only have 5 if I did it. So we did get a nice little, 25, half of a 6-dot mod from the Chewy event. So that's nice.
True. Yeah, that was the nice gimme.
I did like that. And I think that we have the Smuggler event came out recently, and that gives you some mod salvage. So, and also we forgot to add one other thing, probably in the news section, but that's okay. You're going to be getting mod salvage in the Sith raid rewards as well. So it's going to be...
Oh, yeah, I got that today.
It's more that maybe I'll reach 40 soon or something.
So it's going to be easier to slice up your mods to 6-dot and potentially also doing the other colored quality mods as well. Right. But yeah, 20 is... that's most impressive, Abby.
Yeah,
I don't know how you did it, honestly.
Some refreshes. I'll tell you that.
A few refreshes.
You refreshed a lot of energy in the mod?
Not a whole lot. I didn't go above. I just kind of did the 100 one, and I didn't go anything above that. But what I did was I concentrated on what I needed to do.
Right.
On that. So I just kind of saved. And then it was like, woohoo, yeah, here we go. Yeah, let's slice those babies.
It is pretty interesting how there are multiple paths to take since the mods 2.0 got dropped, and how some people focused on green mods and other people focused more on blues and purples. And some people just just focus on 6-dot mods. So I didn't just concentrate on that. I did it all the way from white all the way up.
Yeah, and I saw a mod and I'm like, wow, that's a mod that I really need to slice on that. So it was like, oh, let's take it up to the next level. Okay, now it's blue. Oh, wait, I got enough to do purple. Let's do it that way.
I think it's safe to say that you either got really lucky or you lailed up a little bit.
Yeah, I put most of my resources,
or maybe a little bit of both,
because my arena team had multiple blue, green, couple white mods on them, and so just focusing on getting them all to gold. I was one of those people, is like from a month 1 account that I play, I didn't have a single mod over 19 speed secondary, not a single one. And since slicing, I took ones that were 12ish, and they're now like 22 once I take them to 6 dots.
Nice.
But I focused on the ones that were the highest speed secondary, highest offense secondary, highest appropriate to the character, that were specifically on an arena team that I noticed could become a part of a set, not like a mismatch set that just happened to have high speed. And I was like, that's probably the best place to put it, because then it's versatile. And with the mod loadouts, I can drop it on another team if I need to. So that's kind of the plan I've been doing, but I definitely don't have 26 dots, Abby. Oh my God. I don't know what you've been doing.
Well, one of the bad things that I have is that I just do not get secondary speed. on my mods. I farm those little babies every single day, and I just don't get them. I only have like 120 speed mod. That's all I've ever gotten on any of my accounts. And so what I do is I just try to concentrate on stuff that maybe is loaded up on offense or crit damage or potency, whatever I need at that time, even though it's not the most, or I should say the biggest speed mods that I have, because I just don't have them. So I try to compensate by focusing on other aspects of the secondaries.
Well, sounds like you're doing something right, because I have not been able to acquire the resources you have to 6 that many mods.
We mentioned mod loadouts earlier. Let's talk a little bit about that. So
saving sets.
I think out of the three of us, Knotty, you probably have been doing mod loadouts the most. How about you kind of talk about what you've been doing?
Well, so it's kind of the same thing when team tabs came out. Like, I have a different tab for each phase of TB, for example, just to make it easy on myself, and then I don't like overspend the teams and platoons and stuff. So it's just nice to have these things able to help you remember. And one thing I really like about the mod loadouts is I think the only thing I've saved is my arena team, because those are the mods I care about the most, and I want to make sure if they go elsewhere. And by the way, I'm not a fan of mod swapping. I do it as little as possible. And I just like to set up each tune so that, like, for going into territory wars, for example, I don't have to worry about who has what. I just know they're set for their function. But sometimes, like for bounty hunters, hey, unlocking Chewie, you need to move a few mods around. So the mod loadouts that I have are essentially just saved from the snapshot of the day of what my arena team was. And because I don't really move them that much, I just wanted to have them there. And they have changed since, because some have upgraded and you swapped a couple things around. I'm glad it helped, back to restore it back to where it was. But I think it's a great function of the game, and it's something that we've needed since mods were introduced, which was 2 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I think
so. My experience with actually utilizing it on a daily basis is very low, though, because my play style is that I try to not swap mods if at all possible. It's more of a territory wars preparation thing, I guess, because you need all of your teams modded properly before lock-in.
True, and some of the characters in the Sith raid need to have a whole different mod set than you would, say, in territory battles.
Yeah, plus I'm lazy, so I don't remod for raids. And the raids disappear so fast,
I hate doing that,
Right.
I agree.
What do you think, Nukin, about mod loadouts? How have you been using them more than I have?
No.
No, really? Not at all?
I actually thought that I would use them a lot. I think a lot of people thought that they were going to break the raids because you could make your best mod sets and then swap all your best mods to all of your raid teams. But the issue is that the raids go down so quickly for some of the guilds that we're currently in that you don't even have the time to maximize your mod swapping with loadouts.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Nobody got time for that. Yeah.
Especially if you're climbing in the middle of your raid sessions in arena and you can't pull them off your arena team,
Right. And it, to be honest, it does actually start to get expensive if you're extensively mod swapping as well.
Wow. Yeah. That ate up a lot of gold doing the mod swap or the loadout for bounty hunters with money.
Yeah. It's a lot of credits. So I've actually not used mod loadouts at all. In fact, I believe Avi and I used mod loadouts for the very first time for the Bounty Hunter Legendary One Famous Wookie event. That was the first time that I used mod loadouts. So
that's hilarious. I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
I went in, I looked at my arena team, and I made a mod loadout for all of them. And then I just put them on my bounty hunters, did the event, put them back, And then I deleted my mod loadouts because I don't plan on using them again until maybe the next time around. So
oh my God,
that was
that's
my
hilarious,
first
man.
experience of using mod loadouts. Now, it was super helpful and it saved time, but because I'm really into TW, you can't really mod swap for TW. In fact, you can't at all because there's a lockout. So really, the only time that I'm swapping mods is between TW and Sith Raid, and most of the time I'm not swapping 6 mods. I'm just swapping 1 or 2 here and there. Like I'm swapping a speed arrow to an offense arrow, or like a offense cross to a potency cross or something like that. So it's not like a full set that I'm swapping. So I don't really even bother to make a loadout in that regard. So yeah.
Also, unless it's complete speed for whatever reason, a lot of mod sets don't translate to other characters' kits.
No.
Right.
So I usually will switch 1 or 2 if need be. Yes.
Yeah, and the way that they've been creating new characters recently, I should say, is that every character now kind of is utilizing unique modding. Almost since around the Solo Scoundrels came out, I would say, ever since that time, which was March, around that time. The characters that have been released are specifically modded in a unique way. Like you mod Nest if you want to mod her the best, like the most optimal way, really not that many characters use her type of mods. So I mean,
she gets a speed set, but also health plus health.
You mod her with a bunch of secondary health, a health primary circle, and potentially on your star count, you might not even give her a crit damage triangle. If you need a fast Vader in another situation, you wouldn't just pull it off her and give it to him. Right. I mean, and it could. Right. I'm not saying it couldn't work, but if you want to mod your characters the best way possible, the characters that have been released are very specific when it comes to the best mod sets for them. So. I think that's kind of been the trend since around earlier to like late spring, early summer. And that seems to still be continuing because as the KOTOR characters are all specifically modded in a certain way. And I don't think people really know the best way to mod Chewbacca, the new legendary that just came out, the best way to mod him. There's definitely multiple ways to mod him, but the most optimal way is still not sort of there. In fact, and then also sometimes depending on what team they're on, what characters are on.
I think he might be a rather versatile character where his modding could change based on the game mode.
Right. Not just Chewbacca, but just like thinking about the Solo Scoundrels, back to what I was talking about there. There's multiple Scoundrel teams. You could put Nest with Kira. You could put Nest somewhere else. And then if she's not with Kira, then you have a different sort of team, and the way that you mod that team, which usually so far has been having 2 or 3 tanks on that team. Actually, you change the way that you mod some of the tanks depending on how many you put on the team. So it is becoming a very dynamic sort of process for optimal mods. And then lastly, I guess we should talk about 6.mods. Kind of briefly touched about it. And
how about their significance to pilots? Are you focusing on 6-dotting pilots?
Right. So 6.mods are definitely good, which I know I think Avi here did the most out of all of us. You put your 6.mods on your arena team so far, right, Avi?
Right. Mm-hmm.
That's what I've done as well.
Are you going to put, after your entire arena team is modded with a bunch of 6.mods, where are you gonna put those 6.mods going further past that? Are you gonna put them on your raid teams, on your fleet team, or what are you gonna do? Have you thought about that yet?
Yeah, actually I have. I've thought about putting them starting with my capital ships.
Your fleet commander?
Right. And then I'm going to work my way down from there. Whatever ship seems to be working for me at that time and that I've really been working on, that's what I'm going to be doing.
That's a good idea. So when you put 6.mods, for everyone listening, on your fleet commander, it actually increases the speed of the ship. So if you're ever in a mirror match,
doesn't it take 2 6-dot mods for 1 speed?
Yes.
It's about 2 or 3 mods will increase it by 1, I believe.
Okay.
So if you're in a mirror match, if it's Thrawn Chimera versus Thrawn Chimera, and your Thrawn has more 6-dot mods, your Chimera will be a speed faster, assuming you're both at the same gear level and Zeta level. So, and that 1 extra speed means you get to do your ultimate quicker usually. So that's a big thing. So, and it's the same thing with the other mirror matches. If it's Tarkin on Tarkin, et cetera, et cetera. So that's a nice thing. And then, once you get your fleet commander done, I guess the best thing to do would be your starting rotation, the first 3 ship pilots in the start.
Right, exactly.
But you're saying you rank this priority after your squad arena has their mods all and spit polished to perfection?
Well, I think it depends upon what you want to do yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Some people are more focused on ships than they are arena. So maybe
that's true. Yeah. Okay.
So and instead of arena, maybe somebody might be more concentrating on like raids or TB even or TW instead of arena. So it's going to be an individual process on what they want to do.
Something that I saw that was really interesting was people were using Thrawn on their arena team, and they were using Tarkin as their fleet commander. But then when 6-dot mods came out, they put all their 6-dot mods on Thrawn because he's on their arena team, and then switched back to the Chimera and Fleet Arena, which is now even more viable because of some of these bounty hunter ships that have recently come out. So I found that to be an interesting trend.
That's what I did, but I kept my Tarkin.
Mm-hmm.
I still use Tarkin as well. I'm not sure but I haven't maxed, so I love Tarkin. Although the double matchup of being able to use a character in multiple game modes, especially if you're using in both arenas, that's a solid argument. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about the Night Sister changes, because we all just got, those of us, I had it. Did anyone have the DACA Zeta? Nukin, you're the one that recommended I get it for the raids.
I had it. We just got the refund from it. So
so we all got
did, if you had
Omegas, if you had it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So my question is it worth it putting it back on? Because honestly, I haven't even considered it yet, and I don't need Zetas to spend right now. I think I'm at like 47 at the moment.
Okay. It's not a black and white question. I will say this, that if you were running Night Sisters in phase 3 with that very sort of unique team with a 1,000 lead, probably are going to want DACA to be rezated. But that team is definitely much harder to run with the zombie rework, which we'll talk about in just a second. So if you are running that team, that's one reason to maybe rezeta her. Another reason is if you're in arena, or if you plan on using your Night Sisters in territory wars, it will help your team a little bit, but not to the point where you want to actually rezeta her. It's really going to be just more of a smaller boost for that game mode, and it's going to be really just for phase 3 Night Sisters, which I think are kind of not worth it. Like, I didn't like that team.
That's it?
I didn't like that team in the first place. They were calling it something lame too, like Death Storm.
I remember.
Sorry, I don't know who named that, and I don't mean to be mean, but that was a really silly name. I didn't like it at all. Didn't like the team. I hate teams that are RNG based, that have a low minimum, a high ceiling, and they're incredibly RNG based. I don't have time to raid for an hour, especially phase 3, which didn't get changed in the heroic version. Which is
bizarre to me, because that's easily the biggest bottleneck and the highest RNG dependence.
So Nihilus got easier for phase 1 and phase 4 across all the tiers, but phase 3 only tiers 1 through 6 got changed. So it's just the same level of difficulty in the heroic version. So that team is just Yeah, I'm not a fan of it. So I definitely recommend with this zombie rework, let's talk about it, to run Night Sisters in phase 4. And in order to do that, you do not need the DACA Zeta anymore. So let's talk about
so zombie rework, you're saying that she makes DACA Zeta redundant, or her presence redundant because she reses people.
So
right?
let's
how does it work?
Let's get on the same page for a second. So zombie, the reason why zombie was good was because people were running her and they were calling it quote unquote, the nickname was paper zombie. So what is a paper zombie? Paper zombie meant that you specifically kept your zombie, your Night Sister zombie, under geared. We're talking blue gear to around, no higher than gear 8 or gear 9.
Yeah, mine was 7 for the longest time.
Yeah, and mine specifically was gear 8, and it actually still is gear 8, which is because I used all my gear on bounty hunters to get
Yeah, me too. I ran out of gear. I can't take her to gear 10.
So the strategy around paper zombie was specifically for her to die a bunch, to power up your DACA Zeta, to power up your Asajj Zeta, to give your Talzin turn meter, etc. with her Zeta. And that strategy revolved around having the zombie die a whole bunch, and then Asajj would start doing huge damage. She's still going to do big damage, but she's not going to be powered up as much. So that was the initial strategy. But now zombie has a new ability where she needs to actually be gear 10 to even unlock the ability. So, having her at gear 8 or gear 9 like we did, or gear 7 is not a thing anymore. You need gear 10 at least minimum to get this new ability called Undying Sacrifice. And what this does is it allows your Night Sisters, when they die, zombie is actually going to revive them like DACA revives.
But there's a ceiling on it, right? It's like 2 times?
Right. You can only revive 2 Night Sisters with this ability, but it's definitely,
Wait, is it 2 total per sister or only 2 total?
I think it's 2 total. But also
that's not as cool as I thought it was.
No, it's definitely good because it's going to help them in arena, that's for sure. But we're talking Sith Raid right now. Also, her other ability, which she already had, Endless Horde, the unique, got reworked as well. So that's the other part of the rework. Now, zombie is going to be gaining 50% speed stacking up to 100% max. So she goes crazy fast. So if you had a zombie that has 200 plus speed with 100% speed stacking, you have a 400 speed zombie.
To keep her taunting all the time.
Right.
Sweet.
Yeah. Right. Every time that she takes a turn, at the end of her turn, she gains taunt. So if you have a character that is blazing fast, she's going to be taking a bunch of turns, which means she should have taunt up way more often, which makes the combination of the Nihilus change in the Sith Raid and this rework, Night Sister Zombie is going to have taunt almost all the time, and you're never going to need to use Unbreakable Will almost ever, because Zombie will just absorb it, because she should most of the time be alive and have taunt. So that's one reason why it's going to be very easier to more. It's going to be more of a smoother process to run Night Sisters in phase 4 than ever before. And then the last part of her rework is her first and only special now actually is a heal. So DACA was a huge healer, and now even Night Sister Zombie can heal up the Night Sisters, which is great, because that means your Night Sisters are going to gain more turn meter because of the Asajj leadership, and you can suddenly also do you can take a bunch more turns against Darth Nihilus, and every time you take more turns, you're going to be reducing the turn meter potentially with that leadership. So there's a bunch of synergy, even more so with Night Sisters, and it seems like you definitely want to take Zombie to at least gear 10 to unlock that new ability. It seems interesting I'm not sure if you want to max her out completely. There's probably a sweet spot between gear 10 and a maxed out gear 12 Zombie post rework, but you definitely need to take her to at least gear 10. And then from there, it's going to be there might be a sweet spot. I think some people already had her gear 12, so they're kind of forced to.
Some people did, but they jumped the gun
I'm one
early.
of them. One of them.
I
had
think
a gear
some of them
12.
did. And who knows, maybe a maxed out Zombie ends up being the best for the Sith raid, but it might not be the best for Territory Wars, for example. So I'm kind of cautious. I'm going to take her to gear 10 as soon as I can. I might take her to gear 11, but I'm not really confident if a gear 12 Zombie is the best for TW, which is my main focus anyway.
Right.
So
yeah, me too.
Is the thing. Now, is Paper Zombie dead? That's the question. And I would say technically no. Like you're still gonna do well with a Paper Zombie.
She'll still wreck a JTR team in TW.
But yeah, you'll still be able to beat a JTR team probably. But for the Sith raid, I would say you're not going to have a fun time competing with other people that don't have the Paper Zombie. I think that you're gonna more consistently find that the people with a gear 10 and stronger Zombie are going to outperform you almost every single time, because the other drawback to a Paper Zombie is if she dies too many times, she gets minus speed stacking. And if she gets to a minus 100% speed stacking, she will not revive if she dies. So that is the other issue with the Paper Zombie. So you should still be able to get millions of damage, but you're not going to get, that 5 to 9 million damage with the Paper Zombie anymore. That's for sure.
And then Nukin, just to recap, you're saying that this change essentially prioritizes Night Sisters for phase 4, not phase 3 anymore at all.
I would say to recap, we talked a lot about Night Sisters.
We went through a lot. I was just hearing like the raid relevant stuff for Sith raid.
I would say that the DACA Zeta is going to be very important for phase 3, not so important for phase 4, not really needed for arena or territory wars, but it will give you a small boost. So overall, probably if you had DACA Zeta, don't re-Zeta her. Zombie rework, take her to gear 10 minimum. And it remains to be seen whether gear 11 to 12 to maxed out gear 12 plus is the best at the moment. So that's kind of where we are right now. It literally just happened like this week.
I know, yeah.
So we don't know all the answers, but it's I'm very confident to say, take your Zombie to gear 10. And then if you have some patience, wait it out for an extra week or two, because we'll probably get the answer to that.
Okay, cool. Thanks,
It'll be
man.
Interesting. Yeah, I've got zombies from gear 6 all the way up to gear 12, so it'll be interesting to try.
One last piece of advice: if your Zombie was already gear 12 and you haven't put the gear 12 plus pieces, just wait also for a little bit, because some of those pieces also give her a lot more HP, and I think one of them gives her like 90 armor, and you still might want her to die a little bit. So I would also be patient, even if you have her already gear 11 or 12 as well.
Don't max her. Okay, got it.
At least not yet, until we can confirm what's best.
Okay, so let's talk about the wasteland that we have been left with after all of this gearing and work and effort to get Chewie and all these bounty hunters up.
Right.
So right now, we're at the end of September. What are you focusing on, Avi? How much gear do you have left? Is it none, like me?
Not a whole lot left. It's just been a race to try and get all the bottleneck gear to try to get everybody geared up. I'm trying to get all my stun guns built back up.
What does built back up mean? Do you like to have a threshold of them?
Honestly, I do. I like to have at least one or two that I can craft, but I'm down to the bare bones at this point.
Okay.
On that, and I don't like that. It just bugs me. But I'm still working on bounty hunters to get them totally maxed, which has been kind of fun to do, but they do take a lot of gear. And I'm also
They
working
do.
on Scoundrels, which I'm finding are actually pretty fun to do, especially when I throw a Chewie in there in territory battles. It was just way too much fun. And that was the first time I really threw him in there. And I've got basically almost all the Scoundrels G12 at this point, not Zated, but I do have them pretty much G12. So that's
Very
been really fun to
nice.
work with. Yeah.
Nukin, what are you working on?
So I think that your introduction to what we're working on actually is exactly how I feel after pouring. Well, I wouldn't say I panicked farm because I was working on Bosk way before we even knew they were going to be used for anything in the first place.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
I put a bunch of my gear on the bounty hunters to secure my Chewbacca 7-star unlock. So I'm really left with not much of a whole lot right now. And I really just need to start working up my surplus again for gear. And then, once that surplus has been built up, then I'll just kind of decide on where I want to put it. By then, who knows what will be in the game or what will be needed to be geared up. Now, what I'm currently grinding are all the things. I am grinding every single character that I can possibly grind. I'm really close to finishing up young Lando. I've been refreshing his node even 2 times because it's a really nice node. It gives you the ship and the pilot.
Agreed.
Or at least one of the pilots, since there's 2. I didn't have anything to grind on Cantina until they recently added T3 and Vow. And since I don't want to miss out on another potential legendary, which may come out either later this year or early next year, I'm going to be back to the Cantina farming of grinding those 2 characters. And then for the hard node, since they they changed the refresh cost from 50 to 25 and then 50, I'm going hard on the hard nodes. I'm getting Zalbar, Bastila, what's the other guy? Jolie Bindo,
Yep.
and Vandor Chewbacca. I'm getting them all. And if you notice, they're also on the fleet table, the ship PvE tables as well. Zalbar, Bastila, Jolie Bindo. And I am grinding. If you notice, some of the nodes are better on the hard nodes in terms of supplemental extra gear versus just the shards, and then some of them are better on the fleet table. So, for example, Bastila's hard node gear-wise sucks, but her fleet node is good. And Jolie Bindo's hard node is great, but his fleet node sucks. So I'm trying to grind the nodes that actually also have some nice little goodies, because like Jolie Bindo's node has MK3 Kerbantes, and we all know this is Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes Kerbantes, right? So that's what I'm trying to do, and I'm trying to do all that I can, and hopefully I will be prepared if there is a legendary for the KOTOR characters, and that's basically what I'm doing. What about you, Knotty?
Well, I guess I could probably just say ditto for the most part. I think we all kind of went through the same ebb and flow, where I was really maximizing my gear. I had 7 crafted Carbantes and 6 stun guns and 3 droid collars and 6 golden eyeballs yesterday, and now there's none of them. But at least they're there to spend, right? Why do we have these anyway? To put them in the right place. So now it's time to like slowly accrue things and just like continue to do the grind to be prepared for the next thing that comes out. Figure out how Chewie fits into there. Also, I agree with you. I'm doing the exact same farming plan as you, from the ship to the energy nodes. I think that's an important note to mention, because you don't really have enough energy, especially you don't already have Lando, and you're not refreshing enough. You kind of have to pick your battles and focus on what. So until Lando is done, which I think I'm 20 shards away, or maybe 30 on his ship, then I'll go on Jolie Bindo, even though I don't really want him. But the cadence of what is coming out, I think, is probably going to be something from Han Solo movie and then something from KOTOR, based on when they released the characters and when they made them farmable. So I think it's really important that everyone not be slouching on, just the people that were like, oh, Bosk, I don't need Bosk. Well, ta-da, here we are, end of September. Guess what? You needed him. I worked on him very, very deliberately just because that's what, you and all my other friends were doing. And I was like, all right, this is what's happening. So I think it's important to just like a surfer, you got to follow the wave and then like catch it when it comes. And if you can't catch it, just wait for the next one. It's okay. Come around again. You don't need the monster wave. But anyway, yeah, that's what I'm doing. I think it's time to ebb rather than flow. I just flowed. So I think we all did, by the way. And congrats to everyone that were able to unlock Chewy. I think that was a really crucial thing. And we will see. And I believe by the next time we get together and record and speak about this, we'll have a lot more experience on how he and everyone else we spoke about integrates into the game, where they fit, and what to do with them. So we're over an hour here. You guys ready to close it out?
Yep.
Absolutely.
Alrighty. Thanks everybody for listening. This is your friends over at the SwGoH In-Depth server. Me, Nukin, Avi, our wonderful editor Zepp, and a couple of honorable mentions that probably don't want to be mentioned, but we will be coming at you within less than a month. I guarantee you next time. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Yodelay.
Oh my God, you yodel.
The Force will be with you, always.